it is a clear hormonal problem, which is what I want you to know, right? And this is an area that I specialize in, right? Hormonal health and health coaching. And there are a couple of reasons that you can be looking at when it comes to treating your acne. And a couple of those reasons can be when the adrenals are really fatigued. When the adrenals are fatigued and they're working real hard, it means that your body is producing a lot of stress hormones. There's a lot of cortisol production going down, and what this means and how it relates to acne is that when this happens, your sex hormones can be getting leached and be used to make cortisol. All right. So instead of your sex hormones being used for what they are supposed to be used for, they are getting stolen and converted into cortisol. All right. Now, when this happens, you start to notice things pop up in your skin, plus a whole bunch of other symptoms that you'd be experiencing as well. Now, interestingly enough, one of the way that we're going to address this today is actually to go straight to the root cause, which is going to be what's going on in your gut. All right. Now, whether your adrenals are fatigued or not, whether you're aware of them being fatigued or not, or the different degree of fatigue that they may be at, if you focus on the gut and start there, this is actually where the majority of the problem is happening, and the adrenals being weakened will just be exacerbating the problem and making it even worse. So I want to talk to you about a type of bacteria that when overgrown completely takes over, and it's called candida. Now, we can have candida overgrowth in different areas of the body, in the gut, in the mouth, and you know, when it is in the gut and it starts to take over, you know, you can be experiencing problems like fatigue, problems with your sleep, energy during the day as well, and the main symptom that we're talking about today being acne. All right. Now, if you notice that at certain times of the month, so obviously I'm just talking to you ladies. If you're noticing that at certain times of the month it's getting bad, then that is going to be linked to cortisol production specifically. If it is happening all month round, then we are going to be then you specifically you 100% need to be looking at the gut. Now, a lot of you, whether it's monthly or whether it is right across the month, if you start at the gut, then you will be addressing the root cause. So let me tell you a couple of things that can cause that imbalance, and one of them is having a low immune system can affect the gut. You know, almost 97 to 98% of your immunity is in your gut. And medications can also disrupt that, especially antibiotics. Things like the type of diet that you're following. So if it's a too high fat, not enough carbohydrate, as fiber is compromised type of diet, if you have problems with stabilizing your blood sugar, stress, obviously with adrenal fatigue, that's a strong connection there. Also, one of them that you might not know about, which is hormone replacement therapy and the birth control pill. All right, so these things, this whole environment that I just described to you really does load the liver, and the liver and the gut are like best friends. Okay, so when one is affected, the other is affected, and you really want the liver to start prioritizing the conversion of hormones so that your body can start using them properly. You'll notice that when that happens, the skin calms down, as opposed to the liver being backlogged and loaded by other things. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do about it right away. And the first one is look at the diet that you are following, and is it too high in carbohydrates? Okay, and specifically when I talk about carbohydrates, I'm talking about the refined sugar variety. Now, if you've been Googling and looking around for information about what you can do already, then that's cool. One of the common schools of thought you'll find is about refined sugars and refined carbohydrates feeding the candida, feeding the bad bacteria. And actually, it's a common school of thought, but it may not be the actual case. You actually will be looking at carbohydrates as a whole. See, the fast breaking down bacteria will actually be feeding the other bacteria. All right, so there are many different species of bacteria in the gut, and if it's feeding the other bacteria, then there becomes an overgrowth of other bacteria as well, which contributes to the whole environment being unstable. It's a very fine balance of environment here. Also, that environment creates one of inflammation, and this environment also contributes to a real unhealthy microbiome, or a really unhealthy imbalance of bacteria. It's actually the low glycemic carbohydrates that can feed the candida, right? Because they're so slow digesting. It's the slow digesting carbohydrates that can be contributing to that problem. So you actually, unfortunately, you're going to need to, I'm going to recommend that for 30 to 90 days you follow quite a strict, very low carbohydrate, almost ketogenic diet, which means that there are going to be some things you need to address, like how it is that you do your exercise. Okay, so I'm going to just put that in there. If you've got questions about how you should do that, you want to shoot me a message, just flick through to my website and let me know, and I can speak to you more one-on-one. You also want to make sure that you limit your sugars to under 16 grams a day if you're a female. Okay, so under 16 grams a day, and we're talking added sugars, so just flick the nutrition label around and have a look at the total grams of sugar per serving. You want to keep it under 16 if you're female, under 24 if you're a guy. Now, you want to make sure that you are, the next thing, so we've just dealt with carbohydrates, the next thing I want to talk about is fiber. Right, fiber is so incredibly important. It is the food that the good bacteria survive on. Okay, your good bacteria feed on fiber, and what we've been talking about is an overgrowth of bad bacteria. So the bad bacteria do need to be there, but they're never in a short supply of food. It's the good bacteria that are dying, and so we need to boost those by giving them food to eat, and they eat fiber. So it's super important that you get enough fiber in your diet, and I would actually recommend that you use a fiber supplement. Now, in the last breath, I told you that you're likely going to need to go paleo. You're likely going to need to look at following a ketogenic diet for a time. And the problem with that is a very low carbohydrate diet, because our grains, our fiber is mostly coming from grains, which I've just told you not to eat. So you're going to need to use a fiber supplement. Now, the last thing is fats. All right. Now, fats are one of those things that are getting a lot of attention and a lot of press right now. But fats are going to help you in so many more ways than one. Specifically, when it comes to what's going on in the gut, one of the contributors can also be an imbalance of omega-3 fats to omega-6 fats. So in a typical Western diet, we get a real imbalance. We're getting real dominant in our omega-6s, like our avocados, olive oils, peanuts, peanut butter, and those common fats, and we don't get enough omega-3s, which are your walnuts, your flax seeds, chia seeds, and salmon. Now, obviously, the omega-6s are easier to get, which is why there is such an imbalance, and also the way that we use vegetable oil. So you want to bring that ratio down and start supplementing with omega-3s. And what I would recommend for the first week is that you take your body fat percentage and high dose yourself with 1 gram of fish oil per body fat percentage for the first week. Okay, now that's quite a lot of fish oil, but what you want to do is you want to oversaturate the body with it for the first week. Then you can drop it down to 0.5 gram per body fat percentage following that, and then following that you can drop it down to anywhere between a minimum of 2 grams and to 6 to 8 grams a day. Okay, so I'm also going to just give you one last tip, right? And this is around the use of antibiotics and antibiotic creams, which are a real popular treatment for acne. Now, when you use these, they are not a long-term solution. They are a short, quick solution which will actually disadvantage you in the long term. So let me give you an analogy. when you take a look at a garden, all right, which is your gut. When you take a look at a garden, and there are a lot of weeds overgrowing there, the inexperienced gardener will go through and will rip out all of the weeds. Now, what this does is it provides a prime environment for for weeds to come back and just completely take over. Okay, so the experienced gardener will actually not go through and take away all the weeds. They will go in and take some of the weeds and then replace it with a plant, and then go back and take some of the weeds and replace it with a plant, and take some of the weeds and replace it with a plant, until eventually the plants take over the weeds. All right, so this is the approach that I'm going to recommend you take with your gut. If you go in there and clear it all out with the antibiotic treatment, then it's going to be a prime environment for overgrowth of candida, or initially the acne might go, but it will come back. So I'm going to recommend that you use probiotics, right, as your prime form of treatment. So probiotics work really well when you are following the other recommendations that I've been giving you. And if you are already taking them, I bet that you're not taking the dosage that I'm going to recommend. And the dosage I'm going to recommend is you take anywhere between 4 and 6 a day. You want to flood the body with good bacteria. So I recommend I take one of these every second day. Sometimes I take them daily for a week or two, but I never go a month without taking them, right? So what I'm going to recommend for you is that you take anywhere from 4 to 6 a day. So you want to flood the system with it. So that's double, up to triple, and even up to quadruple the dose. And you want to do that for about 30 days at the very least, when you decide to go ahead and address and start to treat candida. So these are my best recommendations. I want you to know that though there are other things that can be contributing to your acne being worse, the root of the problem is happening in the gut. All right, so you need to start in the gut. Look, I hope that you've got some value from this today. Feel free to like, comment, or share. And look, if you've got questions that you need to address with me specifically, if you're on Facebook Live, you can go ahead and ask me a question there easily enough. Unfortunately, on Periscope, I don't know why, but I cannot see the questions as you ask them. So you can reach out to me through my website, which is www.generationhealth.co.nz. That's generationhealth.co.nz, and hit the Contact Us tab. All right, it's been fantastic. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.